Fluent Flow podcast. New videos every day. Let's learn English together.
Hello and welcome everyone to the deep dive. Today we're setting out on a really quite fascinating exploration. We're peeling back the layers on a topic that, well, it might seem almost disarmingly simple at first glance, but it holds some surprising and I think pretty profound depths. We're diving headfirst into this often overlooked, sometimes misunderstood, but incredibly powerful human practice of enjoying things alone. Now, our main source material for this deep dive, it's a script called How I Enjoy Doing Things Alone. And if you just, glanced at it, with its super clear, almost foundational language, you might be tempted to think, okay, this is just a list of stuff to do. But, in our experience here at the deep dive, we've found again and again that even the most seemingly basic sources can be absolute goldmines for insight. This script, it looks unassuming, but offers this remarkably unique and really impactful perspective. A perspective on what it means to truly engage in self-care, how to harness productivity and foster personal growth, all through this lens of solitude.
So our mission today is to really unpack the nuggets of wisdom hidden right there in plain sight within this deceptively simple guide, revealing insights that we think will deeply resonate with anyone looking for, a clearer understanding of themselves and maybe find some of those aha moments. Okay, let's unpack this.
It really is quite remarkable, isn't it? What's fascinating here is precisely that simplicity you mentioned. It's intentional. This isn't trying to be some dense philosophical text or a super complex psychological study. Instead, it takes this almost meditative, very direct approach in its language. And yet, it's that directness that gives us this incredibly valuable lens, a lens to look at, well, not just the crazy pace and constant connection of modern life, but maybe more importantly, our most fundamental relationship, the one we have with ourselves. The core ideas it touches on so gently, peace, personal growth, focused productivity, they are actually incredibly profound. Even if the words themselves are deliberately, plain and simple, it's like an open invitation to consider these really powerful ideas in a way that's super accessible, which ironically often makes them hit even harder, maybe more memorable than some elaborate academic writing.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it feels like a distilled essence of well-being, just presented without any fuss. So let's start our exploration right where the source does. Let's look at the foundational appeal of solitude. The script, it really wastes no time getting right to the core reasons, stating very directly, I like peace, I like quiet, I like thinking, I like listening to music. Right from the get-go, the focus is squarely on these really personal inner states. So this leads us to a pretty basic question, right? What exactly makes these specific internal conditions so profoundly appealing, especially in a world that often feels, overwhelmingly noisy, always connected and just constantly demanding our attention? Why do we actually crave peace and quiet?
That really is the crucial starting point, isn't it, for this whole dive? We live in an age that's just defined by a constant flood of stimulation, endless notifications, always on communication, the relentless hum of activity all around us. And in that context, the inherent human need for mental calm, for the chance for real introspection, it often gets totally buried under the noise of daily life. Peace and quiet, in this sense, they're way more than just, the absence of external noise. They are actually active states, cultivated states of being, and they serve as these powerful, essential antidotes to the constant external pressures we're all facing. Just think for a second about the sheer cognitive load our brains handle every single day. They're constantly processing incoming info, filtering out this overwhelming amount of distraction, trying to respond to an endless stream of demands, and all that processing, it eats up a huge amount of mental energy. So when we deliberately seek out, when we create moments of peace and quiet, we're essentially giving our brains this much-needed, deeply restorative reset. It's kind of like finally closing all those dozens of apps running in the background on your phone or computer, the ones quietly draining your battery without you even realizing it.
So it's not just a preference then, or some kind of luxury. It sounds more like a fundamental kind of cognitive hygiene necessary, like maintaining our mental health and our ability to even process things.
Precisely, yeah. And the source specifically mentioning thinking in this context, that's profoundly significant. Real thinking, the kind that involves deep cognitive processing, genuine self-reflection, focused problem solving, or just uninhibited creative brainstorming that's incredibly hard to do when you're constantly being interrupted. Whether it's by external stuff or just the ongoing demands of interacting with people, our minds, much like our bodies, they need space, room to wander freely, connect seemingly random ideas, process complex emotions without that immediate pressure of external input input or, needing validation right then and there. That's why solitude isn't just an escape. It actually becomes the fertile ground, that necessary mental clearing for real insight and deep understanding to actually bubble up. Without that quiet, our thinking often just becomes reacting, responding superficially to whatever pops up next, instead of engaging in that deep, sustained contemplation.
And including listening to music specifically is quite interesting there. Because, it's external input, but it's chosen. It's controlled, often deeply personal. It can be a tool for focus, right? Or emotional regulation, rather than just another distraction. It's a deliberate choice.
Absolutely. Music that you carefully choose for those moments of solitude, it often deepens the introspective experience. It doesn't detract from it. It can be like a direct line to accessing deeper emotions or conjuring up cherished memories, or even just a nice way to block out other ambient noise while still giving you a structured, non-demanding sensory thing. It's a curated sound environment, tailored specifically for exploring your inner world. And then the source transitions beautifully, giving us these wonderfully concrete, really relatable examples of how this basic desire for peace and quiet actually plays out. It says, sometimes I go for a walk alone. I walk in the park. I look at the trees. I listen to the birds. I feel calm, feel good. These aren't like grand dramatic gestures. They're incredibly simple everyday acts, yet they consistently translate into these profound, deeply felt feelings of well-being. It really highlights how accessible these benefits are.
It's that deliberate engagement with the present moment, isn't it? Without that underlying pressure of needing to keep a conversation going or needing to perform for someone else. It's just being. Just looking at the trees, really listening to the birds. These feel like profound acts of mindfulness, totally detached from social expectations.
Oh, absolutely. They are quintessential acts of mindfulness. This deliberate, unhurried engagement with simple sensory experiences. It's something that gets neglected way too often in our hyper-scheduled lives. When we're truly alone, without that need to talk or entertain or respond to a companion's distractions, we can finally see the intricate patterns on the trees, truly hear the distinct songs of the birds, and viscerally feel that sense of calm washing over us. It's about being fully, completely present in your own unique experience, without those external filters or distractions. This isn't just an absence of other people, it's a profound, enriching presence of inner well-being. The calm and good feelings the Source describes, they aren't accidents. They're the direct, natural results of intentionally creating an environment that's deeply conducive to internal peace. And this foundational understanding, it really sets the stage for everything we're exploring today. That solitude isn't about isolation or deprivation. It's actually about cultivating an enriched, deeper connection with yourself. It's about replenishing your inner reserves.
That distinction really hits home.
Yeah.
It fundamentally reframes solitude. It goes from something you might just, put up with out of necessity to something you deliberately cultivate for specific, tangible, and really positive outcomes. Okay, so once we've consciously chosen this path, this intentional solitude, the Source then moves gracefully into its practical application. It lists this wonderful variety of activities: reading, writing, cleaning, organizing, making tea, stretching, even thinking about life. And what's really striking is how it keeps emphasizing that these seemingly small, everyday things make me happy, help me grow, and give me peace. Now, these are, let's face it, pretty common activities, mundane even. Many of us do them regularly. But here's where it gets really interesting. Doing them alone seems to completely transform their nature. What exactly is happening there? How does just the absence of company fundamentally change the experience and the intrinsic value of these activities?
It's truly transformative because, the absence of external demands, social expectations, or even that subtle pressure to perform allows for a significantly deeper, more mindful, and more authentic engagement with these seemingly mundane tasks. Take reading alone, for instance. When you're immersed in a book by yourself, your mind isn't subconsciously rehearsing what you might say about it later, or worrying about how fast you should be reading compared to some imaginary social norm. You are simply purely immersed in the words, the story, your own internal reaction to it all. The same applies to writing. It becomes this pure, uninhibited, active self-expression, totally unburdened by the thought of an immediate or, critical audience. And when you're cleaning or organizing alone, it allows for this deeply meditative focus on the task itself. It stops being just a chore you rush through or a performance to impress someone. Instead, it becomes an act of creating order and clarity in your environment, which, interestingly, often mirrors an internal process of sorting things out. Think about just making tea when you're alone. You're free to focus entirely on the warmth of the cup, the aroma from the steam, the ritual itself, savoring every little sensory detail without distraction. And when you stretch, you can be profoundly tuned in to your body's unique sensations, really listening to its needs rather than feeling self-conscious about how graceful or coordinated you might look to someone else.
Right. So it's about shifting our motivation and focus, moving away from seeking external validation or meeting some kind of social performance standard, and instead deriving pure intrinsic satisfaction from the process itself. It sounds like almost every activity becomes a sort of journey inwards.
Exactly. When you make these activities solitary, they get elevated. They go from mere tasks to these profound practices of self-care and heightened self-awareness. It's that critical difference between just passive idleness, being by yourself, maybe doing nothing much, and what we could call active solitude, where you are deliberately engaged in something meaningful for yourself. These conscious, deliberate acts of engagement, even with the simplest things, they contribute hugely to a profound sense of personal accomplishment and self-efficacy. You're doing something for yourself by yourself. And that independent agency fosters this deep sense of capability and self-reliance. The source really hits the nail on the head when it says these activities don't just happen to yield benefits, but that they actively make me happy, it helps me grow, it gives me peace. These are active, intentional outcomes. The happiness comes from that mindful, unburdened presence, the growth, from undisturbed learning or reflection, and the peace. From the complete absence of external pressure or judgment, it's really about cultivating an inner sanctuary through action.
That genuinely sounds like a hidden superpower for discovering real contentment just in the fabric of the everyday. And that leads us perfectly into how this cultivated solitude can be a powerful catalyst for productivity, because the source then outlines some very clear, highly productive solitary acts. I make a list, I write my goals, I plan my day, I do one task at a time. And what's particularly striking here is the emphasis on a very mindful approach throughout. I don't rush, I don't stress, I enjoy my time. So what does this all mean for how we usually think about getting things done? It seems like solitude isn't just for chilling out or deep reflection. It's also fertile ground for serious, focused work.
It is absolutely an incredibly potent catalyst for productivity, often in ways that, kind of contradict our fast-paced, always collaborating work cultures, the role of uninterrupted focus in effective planning and meaningful goal setting. You just can't overstate it. When you're genuinely alone, you can meticulously shut out that constant stream of external distractions, the pings, the emails, colleagues stopping by, even just that subtle pull of social media. But crucially, you also significantly reduce internal distractions. The mind, when it's not constantly reacting to external stuff or anticipating social interactions, it just becomes remarkably clearer. And that clarity is absolutely essential for strategic organization and truly impactful work. You gain the mental bandwidth to really think through your priorities, to vividly picture the outcomes you want, and to carefully map out the steps needed without being pulled in 10 different directions at once.
And that point about one task at a time, in our modern multitasking culture, that often sounds almost quaint, right?
Yeah.
Or even inefficient. But here it's presented as this powerful endorsement of solitary productivity. It's a stark contrast to the, glorification of juggling everything.
It is indeed. The power of single tasking when you're in solitude is immense. What we often mistakenly call multitasking is, in reality, rapid task switching. And that comes with a significant switching cost. It's like a mental tax, an overhead, that dramatically reduces both efficiency and accuracy, while at the same time increasing mental fatigue. In solitude, there's absolutely zero pressure to look busy by juggling stuff or to rapidly respond to multiple threads. You're free to dedicate your entire cognitive horsepower to one single task. This deep, unbroken focus. It not only dramatically improves the quality of the work you produce, but also significantly reduces stress, prevents burnout, and often leads to more creative solutions popping up. The don't rush, don't stress mindset the source talks about is, frankly, quite revolutionary in a world obsessed with speed and instant gratification. It embodies a mindful approach to productivity, one that intrinsically values quality, internal well-being, and sustained effort over just sheer speed or superficial quantity. And that stands in really stark contrast to many collaborative or open plan work setups, where quick reactions, visible activity, and constant availability often get, maybe inadvertently, prioritized over deep, sustained thought and concentrated effort. When you adopt this solitary, deliberate pace, you don't just feel better, you actually become demonstrably more effective and often more innovative in the long run.
It sounds like it's about working smarter, yes, but also about finding genuine joy and satisfaction in the productive process itself, not just racing to the finish line. Okay, so we've covered peace, deep reflection, enhanced productivity. But the source also makes a really important point about highlighting the purely fun side of solitude.
which I think challenges a very common, deeply ingrained misconception we have. It lists this delightful range of fun things I do alone. I dance, I watch movies, I cook something new, I sing in the shower, I take pictures, I walk around the city. And then it culminates with this incredibly powerful, liberating statement. I smile, I laugh, I enjoy my own company. Defining this as be happy when you are alone. Okay, let's unpack this. What's the profound freedom in solitary enjoyment when so often we've been conditioned to think fun requires other people?
This is truly where the profound psychological benefits of chosen solitude absolutely shine brightest. The freedom, the pure authenticity that comes with solitary enjoyment is, well, simply unparalleled. Think about it. When you dance alone, you are totally unconcerned with how you look, whether you're perfectly on beat or what anyone else might possibly think. You're dancing for the pure, unadulterated joy of movement itself, for the sheer expression of your body. The same applies, maybe even more vividly, to singing in the shower, right? It's this uninhibited, joyful explosion of self-expression, a private concert where the only audience that matters is you. There's no external judgment, no self-consciousness, just pure, unfiltered enjoyment and release. And that critical distinction between loneliness and chosen solitude for joy is absolutely vital. Loneliness is unwanted, it's painful disconnection, a void you wish wasn't there. But chosen solitude, like this, it's a deliberate, empowering act of connecting deeply and authentically with yourself.
So it's basically about removing the entire performance aspect from fun, isn't it? We often, maybe without even realizing it, perform for others, even in our leisure time, even during moments we call fun.
That's precisely it. When you watch a movie alone, you have complete control. Pause it whenever, laugh as loud as you want, cry without feeling watched or judged. Cooking something new by yourself becomes this genuine adventure in creativity and exploration, not just making a meal to impress guests. Taking pictures alone shifts from curating an image for social media to genuinely capturing your unique perspective, your personal appreciation of beauty you see. This profound shift cultivates a deep sense of self-reliance and emotional resilience. When you're capable of finding deep, intrinsic joy independently, you become way less dependent on external sources, other people, validation, specific circumstances for your happiness. This inherently strengthens your sense of self, making the ability to enjoy your own company a fundamental cornerstone of real personal well-being. It's an authentic act of self-love, self-acceptance, a powerful internal validation that doesn't need an external mirror or applause. It means genuinely being happy when you are alone. And that's a state of profound self-sufficiency.
It truly sounds like a revolutionary act in a culture that, for so long, seems to have equated constant social connection with the very definition of happiness. And this isn't just about, grand occasional solitary adventures or retreats. The source material brilliantly shows how these principles can be seamlessly woven into the fabric of our daily lives through intentional routines. It meticulously details specific morning routine alone and night routine alone activities, highlighting them as a quiet moment and favorite time that consistently help the person relax, sleep well, and ultimately feel good the next day. Here's where it gets really interesting. It's not just about big solitary trips, but about embedding these microdoses of solitude right into the texture of daily life. How exactly do these seemingly small daily rituals amplify the huge benefits of solitude?
These daily rituals are incredibly powerful because they establish consistent, intentional spaces for self-connection. They act as these vital bookends that frame our days. In the morning, they proactively set a calm, purposeful tone for the hours ahead. In the evening, they mindfully help us decompress and release the day's stresses. They transform potentially chaotic beginnings and endings into serene, purposeful transitions. This really highlights the huge importance of ritual in establishing deeply ingrained habits for sustained well-being, rather than just, momentary relief. Let's dig into that morning routine described. Wake up early, open the window, breathe, drink water, make my bed, stretch my arms, smile, plan my day. This quiet, unhurried start is a deliberate act of gentle self-nurturing. Waking up even a little earlier before the day's demands start crashing in offers this precious, uninterrupted window of calm and mental clarity. Opening the window, breathing deeply, that connects you to the world outside and, crucially, to your own body. It grounds you. Drinking water, making your bed wonderfully simple. Immediate acts of care that give you an instant sense of control and accomplishment right at the start. Stretching physically wakes up the body, and smiling, even if it feels a bit forced at first, can actually trigger positive responses in the brain. Then, planning the day in this quiet space allows for proactive, clear-headed organization instead of that reactive scrambling we often do. This intentional morning solitude, as the source puts it so beautifully, is my quiet moment. It is my favorite time. It profoundly impacts mental clarity, helps set intentions, and boosts productivity for the whole day. It's like a proactive investment in your day's success.
It sounds like building a quiet little fortress of calm inside, before the day's external battles even start. Creating a sacred space just for yourself.
Precisely. And the night routine brilliantly mirrors this intentionality. At night, I slow down, I take a shower, I drink tea, I turn off my phone, I read a book, then I go to sleep. This is a deliberate and really crucial wind down from the constant digital stimulation that often messes with our evenings and our sleep. The shower acts as a kind of symbolic cleansing, washing away the day's stress. Drinking tea becomes a calming, sensory ritual, signaling to your body and mind it's time to shift gears. And crucially, turning off the phone creates this absolutely necessary boundary against endless connectivity, letting your mind truly disengage. Reading a physical book instead of staring at a screen lets the mind relax, wander imaginatively, and prepare naturally for good sleep. These activities are meticulously designed to progressively quiet both mind and body, leading to deep relaxation. The source explicitly states the benefits. Doing these things helps me relax. It helps me sleep well. It helps me feel good the next day. If we connect this to the bigger picture, these routines aren't just about isolated, peaceful moments. They're about creating a sustainable, deeply nourishing rhythm of self-care that flows through your whole life. Even if you have very limited time, adapting just one or two of these simple acts, like a 5-minute stretch in the morning, or maybe turning off your phone an hour before bed, can have this cumulative, profoundly positive effect. They effectively become indispensable anchors in an otherwise busy life, making sure those daily doses of intentional solitude are non-negotiable, consistently prioritized.
That cumulative effect really is powerful. It shows how small, consistent changes can make a huge positive difference. And that brings us perfectly to the final reflections from the source. They're incredibly concise, but really impactful. It states, being alone is not bad. It is good for you. You can learn, you can grow, you can enjoy simple things. Do you like doing things alone? Try it. Start small, one moment at a time. So what does this all mean for us, for you listening, and our lives? Feels like a powerful, almost revolutionary affirmation of solitude, doesn't it?
It is indeed a profoundly powerful affirmation. It truly encapsulates the core message of this whole deep dive. Just repeating that being alone is not bad. That's a direct, necessary challenge to this pervasive story in society that too often equates solitude with loneliness, or even like some kind of social failing. The source clearly and compassionately distinguishes chosen solitude, that deliberate act of self-care and self-discovery, from the painful, unwanted state of loneliness. When you consciously and maybe courageously embrace solitude, you actively foster self-reliance, you significantly deepen your self-awareness, and you cultivate this profound, maybe even renewed appreciation for life's simple pleasures, those quiet moments, those small activities that so often get lost in the hustle of group dynamics and external demands.
It sounds absolutely essential for developing an authentic inner compass, a real sense of self that's independent of external validation or what others think.
Precisely. Stepping away from the relentless pressure of external demands and social expectations allows for truly significant personal learning and growth. It's in those quiet, unburdened moments that you genuinely develop that inner compass, that sense of who you are, what you value, what your unique purpose might be, completely uninfluenced by the often conflicting opinions or fleeting expectations of others. There is, I think, a certain quiet courage needed to truly choose to be alone in a world constantly pushing for connection, validation, and just superficial busyness. But in that courage lies immense, untapped strength. It's in those unhurried, quiet moments we can finally hear our own authentic thoughts, understand our own true needs, and reconnect with our most genuine selves. This raises an important question, maybe even a provocative one for all of us. What essential parts of ourselves, what profound insights or unique strengths might we be consistently missing out on or failing to cultivate if we never allow for this intentional, chosen solitude in our lives? The final invitation from the source, try it, start small, one moment at a time, is incredibly practical. It's gentle and profoundly empowering. It thoughtfully acknowledges that embracing solitude isn't all or nothing. It's something you can gracefully integrate into your life, one peaceful, self-affirming moment at a time. It's about truly recognizing and then embracing the profound transformative benefits of this practice for deep personal growth, lasting contentment, and an authentic sense of peace.
Wow, what an incredible journey this has been, really. From discovering that deep well of peace and quiet, to boosting productivity and creativity, finding genuine joy in your own company, and then embedding all that into daily routines. This deep dive into how I enjoy doing things alone has truly opened my eyes to the profound, often understated benefits of intentional solitude. for peace, for productivity, for fun, and just overall well-being. It's really quite astonishing what deep insights you can find in even the simplest sources when you commit to really, unpacking them. Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration today. It's been an absolute privilege sharing these insights with you. As we wrap up, here's a thought for you to maybe mull over. In a world that relentlessly pushes for constant connection, for external engagement, for shared experiences at every single turn, what truly profound insights or maybe unique personal strengths might we only uncover, might we only truly cultivate when we intentionally step back from all that noise and connect deeply, authentically, and singularly with ourselves?
That is a profound thought, and definitely one worth exploring, perhaps in your own quiet moments. We genuinely encourage you to maybe try just one small, intentional, solitary moment in your day, even if it's just 5 minutes, and just observe, see what unexpected treasures or insights might surface from within yourself.